In the pivotal era of the late 19th century, a monumental wave known as the Industrial Revolution swept across the nation. John D. Rockefeller stood at the forefront, commanding a vast oil dynasty. Yet, beneath the triumphs of industry, a formidable challenge loomed over his empire, a stark shortage of skilled labor necessary to power the machinery of progress. Back in those days, the majority of America thrived in the simplicity and humility of rural life. People were ensconced in agrarian routines, reaping the fruits of the earth, and under the tutelage of church-run schools or home-based education systems. The general populace lacked the essential knowledge and skills required to operate within the industrial fortresses of factories and oil refineries. Rockefeller, vested with a vision, sought to cultivate a workforce that would breathe life into his industrial ambitions. However, he realized that wielding the weapon of education was a task that required finesse and stratagem. He aimed to sculpt an education system that sprinkled just enough knowledge to create competent workers without fanning the flames of intellectual curiosity and independent thought that could birth competition. Enter the dawn of the American public school system, a transformative gesture masked in benevolence and heralded as a gift of free education to the masses. Little did the public discern that this was a strategic chess move, orchestrated to fulfill the industrial baron's needs. These temples of learning were fine-tuned to churn out individuals conditioned to function as loyal and efficient cogs in the vast machinery of industrial empires. The curriculum was meticulously crafted to shepherd minds towards obedience, adherence to rules, and a tamed-down pursuit of ambitions and dreams, molding individuals into ideal constituents of a labor force. The hidden architects of this educational paradigm fostered a culture where stepping out of line was met with the brand of failure, and conformity was the golden ticket to survival. This educational crucible was not the exclusive brainchild of Rockefeller. It was a symphony of affluent influencers from realms of influence, such as big oil, big pharma, and big food. Their affluence flooded the corridors of this new educational establishment, crafting an environment that served their grand designs, all while their offspring were nurtured in the exclusive gardens of private schooling. Rockefeller's philosophy echoed a desire not for a nation teeming with thinkers and innovators, but a vast army of workers dutifully operating the levers of his empire. Thus, our education system's roots are entangled in a clandestine saga of manipulation and ulterior motives aimed at perpetuating a cycle of industrial servitude and subdued intellectual aspiration. The roots of our education system still strongly influence today's schools, posing a crucial question: are our schools merely reflecting the issues in our communities, or are they subtly contributing to these problems? Discover the concealed roots of the American education system, tracing its inception back to the formidable Prussian Empire, the architects of modern-day Germany. Prussia, mastering the art of societal control, conceived a strategic approach in the late 1700s following their conquest of Poland. Faced with the challenge of imposing German rule on the proud and resistant Polish populace, the Prussians devised a plan aimed not at the unyielding adults, but at the impressionable youth. Prussia ingeniously established an 8-year compulsory education program. The curriculum imparted essential skills, such as reading and writing, but was heavily laced with lessons in obedience, submission, and allegiance to Prussian authority. The Prussian model was profoundly effective, fostering a subdued population stripped of free will, driven to think and act in alignment with governmental intentions. Their educational philosophy was candidly elucidated by a Prussian philosopher, advocating for the annihilation of free will. He emphasized that a meticulously sculpted education would render the populace subservient, obliterating the need for military or police enforcement. In this system, young minds were inundated with Prussian ideologies, coercing them into an unwavering loyalty to the monarchy, thereby erasing their native Polish identities. This relentless indoctrination resonated so powerfully that it magnetized the attention of Horace Mann, an influential American figure. Enchanted by its potency, Horace became a herald of the Prussian model, harboring aspirations of integrating its principles into the educational fabric of the United States. Driven by a fervent desire to reform American education, Horace Mann embarked on a quest in 1843, exploring educational frameworks across Europe. His journey led him to the remarkable Prussian model, an intricate masterpiece of systemic influence. Horace was enamored by its profound capacity to mold young minds, to metamorphose cultural identities, and to engineer societies meticulously. Inspired by the Prussian success in effacing Polish identities, Horace pondered the transformative potential such a system held for America. It promised a harmonizing forge where varied backgrounds, whether Protestant, Catholic, Black, immigrant, Native American, or atheist, would be melded into a unified alloy of patriotism, responsibility, and diligence. With Horace's influential advocacy, echoes of the Prussian model began to reverberate across American education. Tax-funded public schools, bearing the Prussian blueprint, emerged, gradually gaining acceptance as the quintessential model of youthful education. Distinct age-specific classes became the new norm, and a predominantly female teaching workforce was cultivated, enduring influences that resonate in contemporary education. Recognizing the Prussian model's transformative efficacy, authorities mandated its rigor. Native American children were compelled to abandon their linguistic heritage, being immersed instead in foreign educational environments in a bid to reconfigure their cultural identities. As the 19th century waned, the Prussian model's resonance amplified across the American educational landscape, becoming an obligatory framework by the turn of the century. Parents faced coercive choices: surrender their children to the state's educational dictates or face punitive consequences, including imprisonment. However, the evolution of public education didn't cease with Horace's Prussian-inspired reforms. Industrial magnates like John D. Rockefeller discerned the latent potential in this educational architecture. They envisioned a systematic infusion of their interests, foreseeing a harmonized synergy between governmental and commercial aspirations within the crucible of education. In the late 19th century, schooling became compulsory. However, the absence of a unified curriculum meant that the majority of students didn't acquire skills essential for industrial jobs like in oil refineries, mines, or factories. Employers needed workers who were not just submissive and obedient, but also adequately educated according to industrial requirements. Enter influential figures like Friedrich T. Gates, who allied with power holders to establish the General Education Board, GEB. At first glance, the GEB seemed like a government-sanctioned authority overseeing America's educational progression. In reality, it was a cunning strategy to pour extensive resources, equivalent to billions in today's dollars, into shaping the education system to meet industrial needs. This immense investment had a transformative impact on the nascent educational infrastructure of that time. Funds from the board didn't just flow into high schools. Universities and various higher education institutions were also recipients, ensuring that the students remained within a controlled educational environment beyond high school. Soon, magnates like Andrew Carnegie also contributed to this educational reformation, necessitated by their need for specialized yet compliant workers. Society began noticing the vast capital influx into education, triggering a dialogue about the autonomy and integrity of educational institutions. Despite this, the movement had gained unstoppable momentum. By 1918, elementary school completion had become a mandate across states. Developments like standardized tests and new textbook introductions, funded by powerful entities, were key drivers in remodeling education. The architects of this educational restructuring, like Gates, had a very distinct vision. They didn't aim to cultivate philosophers, artists, or thought leaders from the masses. Instead, they sought a populace molded and conditioned to fit into predefined industrial roles, devoid of an inclination towards intellectual or artistic pursuits. John D. Rockefeller, one of the pivotal players in this transformation, expressed his desire for a nation populated not by thinkers, but by workers. A look at the contemporary education system reveals the manifestation of his vision. Despite years of schooling, many exit the system lacking essential life skills such as financial management, investment strategies, or even basic survival techniques. The historical shifts in our education system unveil a deliberate design heavily influenced by industrial moguls, aimed not at nurturing innate talents or encouraging intellectual explorations, but at producing a workforce tailored to meet the demands of industry and commerce. Well, what do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more captivating business insights.